Greetings, friend. I will show you the optimal order of solving variant Sudoku by giving you my top 5 tips. Let's go over the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, and all clues are standard. So in any 3x3 block, row, or column, the digits 1 through 9 can only appear once. So only once that way, and only once that way. Cages, the sum of the digits inside each cage is equal to the small number in the top left corner, and digits cannot repeat within a cage. So this is a 30 cage. These digits have to add up to 30. So like this 21, you have 3. You could do 6, 7, and 8 because they're 3 different digits. And 6 plus 7 plus 8 equals 21. You can mix it up if you had a 9 here and you put a 5 there, as long as they are different digits and they add up to the number in the top left corner. And then we have thermometers. Digits on thermometers increase from the bulb. So the bulb is the big circle, and so you're going to have the smallest number in the bulb, and then you can see that you can increase here, and you could skip. You could go to like a 5, 7, but then you'll see that you can only have 9 at the top there. So that is how the thermometers work. Click below if you want to give this puzzle a go. And with that, it's solving time. So my first tip is you want to look at the restrictions that the setter gives you. So this killer cage box has 30 as the digit. And with 4 cells, there's only one way to make 30 with 4 different digits. It's 6, 7, 8, and 9. Because 9 is the maximum. You add all those up, you'll get 30. And so that's one thing you can look for. And remember, variant Sudoku, the restrictions, the thermometers and the cages, those are the restrictions. The setter put it there to create the restrictions that allow you to solve. You notice there's no given digits. So you have to rely on these restrictions created by the thermometers and the killer cages. And so this brings me up to tip number 2. You want to mark possible candidates along your restrictions. And you'll notice this thermometer, the longer the thermometer, the more restricted it will be, right? Because it has to go from between 1 and 9. And you might notice that there's 7 cells along this thermometer, so it only has 3 degrees of restriction. At the top, this could be at most a 7, 8, 9. And this is a 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, and a 1, 2, or a 3. And this brings me up to my third tip. The third tip is you want to compare restrictions, especially an overlapping rule set. So right here, you notice this bulb is inside this cage. And these are really low numbers, right? The 1, 2, or 3. So how does that affect the ability to get to 20? Because it has to be exactly 20 in this cage. If you put a 1 right here, then you need a 9 and a 10, which you can't have. If you put a 2 right here, you need 2 9s to make 20, and that violates the rules of Sudoku. So this can only be a 3, and this has to be an 8, 9 to max out this particular cage. Awesome. But since this is a 3, now you know you can go to 4, 5, 6, 7 on the maximum allowable digits there to make this thermometer work. And that was the first hurdle to overcome. This is a smooth break-in by James Sinclair. Thank you for letting me feature your puzzles. You need to check out his newsletter, Artisanal Sudoku, where he creates and recommends variant puzzles for you to solve. And this brings me up to the question of the day. How often do you solve variant Sudoku? Please, 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 please drop it in the comments. I'm curious if you solve them every day or just every so often. I don't solve variant every day, but I do enjoy them. Please share it with me and the other viewers and help me grow the best Sudoku community on YouTube. And you can see here by putting this 9, you're in a 12 cage, and so you only have 3 more to make your 12. So that has to be a 1, 2 pair. Okay? And then this brings up to tip number 4. Tip number 4 is you want to apply normal Sudoku rules after the restriction rules. Normally, you want to do normal Sudoku rules after the restriction rules. So, like we put a 9 right here. You know that a 9 can't be anywhere else right there. So this is a 6, 7, 8 triple. So the 9 has to be here in the 30 block. And then moving on, you can look that this cage right here becomes severely restricted. And why is that? Because of this 9, can't have a 9 in these two cells. And this 8, 9 naked pair acts as a pointing pair. And so a 9 can't be anywhere in the column. So you can't have a 9 here. If you can't have a 9 in a 21 cage, doing the math, you'll notice that the 8 is the highest digit you can have, followed by a 7, followed by a 6. And that just makes 21. So this now has to be a 6, 7, 8 cage. And since an 8's in one of these cells, you can remove the 8 right there and solve this cell for an 8. And then James, really cool here, since this is an 8 and this is a thermometer, the only digit above that is a 9. So you get to solve all of that just by figuring out that you cannot have a 9 in that 6, 7, 8 cage. And then you'll see with these 8s, I can actually put restricted 8s right there in block 1, because you can't put an 8 here at the bulb, right? Because then you got a 9 and it goes too high. And so let's look now here and focus on this block, because you're just, again, you want to keep looking at the restrictions, especially where there's some overlap here. So you have this 9 coming down, you have the 8, 9 right here, so 9s can't be there, and you got this 9. So the 9s are restricted to these two cells in block 4. So that makes them part of this 15 cage. Well, if a 9's one of the digits, what do the other 3 have to be? You have a 9, and to get 15, you need 6 more. The only way to do that with 3 different digits is a 1, 2, and a 3. So now what you see is this has to be 1, 2, 3, 9. That has to be 1, 2, 3, and that has to be 1, 2, 3. You have a lot of information there. And since this is a 3, you can get rid of all these 3s and solve this cell for a 3. But we can do a little bit further, right? This is the tip of a thermometer. So it can't be 1 or a 2 because you don't have enough digits below 1 or 2. So this now actually has to be your 9. Nice. I love that. I think that James, he's a master of what I call logic rewards. That's when you find a piece of logic in a puzzle and you get immediate reward with some solved cells. And you're going to see this again and again in this puzzle. But now with these 3s, we can restrict the 3s to these two cells in block 1. So I'll make some marks there. And then we want to look at this 22 cell. This is interesting, kind of a pivot point. And what I'll say is, this brings up to my 5th tip. Do the math. And what do I mean by that? What can be in this 22 cage? Well, it can't be an 8 or a 9 because the 8, 9 right here and the 8, 9 right here. So the highest digit you can put here is a 7. And that's the highest digit. How can you make a 22 with the highest digit being a 7? Well, 7 and a 6, that's 13, plus a 5, 18, and a 4 is 22. So the 4 maximum digits, 4, 5, 6, 7, can create that 22. And it has to be those 4 digits, right? And you have the 6, 7 right here. So you can remove the 6, 7 from those two cells. And you know they have to be in these two cells. And then this 5 can't be here, so that's a 4, and that is your 5. So you get some immediate solves there. And then with these two 4s, the one place for a 4 in block 1 is right there. And then you'll see that the 5 now has to be in one of these two cells. So that's a 3, 5 hidden pair. And then you got the 5 there. It means the 5 can only be here in block 7. You got a 1, 2 left, so this is going to be a 1, 2, and you'll notice all these other cells are filled out, so you can actually put a 1, 2 right there in block 7. And now we're getting up to probably the trickiest part of the whole puzzle. And it's, again, part of that tip number 5, doing the math. We got to figure out what to do with these blocks right here. You know, why did James put them in there, and how can we take advantage of that? And in order to do that, we're going to do some filling out. All right, you have an 8 right here, no big deal. What you might see is that row 8, column 8, has to be a very particular value. And why is that? Because you have a 6, 7, 8, 9 in the column, okay? And you have a 1, 2 right here. So 1, 2 can't be in these cells. Well, to make 11, if you had a minimum of a 3, 3, 4, 5, that makes 12. So that's not possible. So you know a 1 or 2 has to be in this 11 cage. Since the 1 and 2 are in these two cells, they can't be here. One of these has to be a 1 or a 2. Hopefully you understand that. You got to have a 1 or 2 to make 11 in a 3-cell cage. Conversely, to get this 13 with 4, you're also going to need a 1 or a 2, because if you try to do 3, 4, 5, 6, you can see that's 18. It's well above the minimum. And you have a 1, 2 right here, so they can't be in these cells. It can't be in this cell. This also has to be a 1 or a 2. All right, and we can go a little bit further there. You have to have a 1 right there. And the answer, think about it. If you don't have a 1, you got a 2, 3, 4, and a 5. That is 5 and 9. That's 14. That's too big. So you got to have a 1 somewhere in this cage. And it can't be here and it can't be there. So this is the only place to put your 1. So now you can actually solve that for a 2. This is beautiful. Now let's look at where the 8 can go. Because again, this is kind of tricky. So this 8 means an 8 can't be here. Can you have the 8 in the 13 block? Because if you put an 8 right here, for example, you have a 9, then what you would need is 4 more. But you can't use a 1 again. You'd have to have 2 2s. And you can't have 2 2s in a killer cage. So the 8 can't be here or here. All right? Down here in this 11, could you have a 9 here? Or, excuse me, can you have an 8 here? If you put the 8 there, this would have to be a 1. But you can see, get the 1, 2 right there. So you can't have an 8 in either one of these two cells. And so where in column 9 can you have the 8? It can only be right there, right? Because it can't be here. Can't be there, and it can't be there. Awesome. All right, so you're able to solve that pretty easily. And again, that's kind of a tricky part, but we're not done. There's still some more tricks that you need to find here. With this 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, now you have a 3, 4, 5 naked triple. Move the 5 because of the 5 right there. You can move the 4 right there. And you'll see it restricts the 5s to column 8 in block 3. So I'm going to put the 5s there. The 5s can't be anywhere else in the block because it got to be somewhere in column 8. And then let's check out these thermos that we haven't touched yet. So you got this thermo right here. Max it can be in the third spot is a 5. So this has got to be, 1, 2, 3, or 4. This can't be a 4, and this can't be a 1. So we're going to mark that. And then let's mark over here 6, 7, 8. You could have a 3. You can't have a 4, 5, 6, or 7 right there. You have a 2, 3, 5, or 6 there, but there's a 4, so you can't do that. And you could have a 1, 4, or a 5 right there. I'm marking that so we can kind of see and show some of these restrictions here. Now, after doing that, we're going to do a little bit more math. This is another tricky spot. And I thought this was beautiful how James did this. Add up all these blocks here. You got these cages. Okay, you want to add up the amount, right? So you got 12 here, and 13, that's 25, and 30, that's 55, and 11, that's 66. What we know, the secret of Sudoku is that each 9 cells in a house equal up to 45. Well, if you have 2 of these, like we have here, that equal up to 90. So you got 90, the value of these 2 cells in digits is 90. And 66 is the value of all the cages. So that leaves you with 24 as the value for these 2 cells and these 2 cells. Okay, and I'll highlight that. You need this information to get to the next solve. What can go right here? You got 1, 2, 8, 9 in the column. So it could be a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can't be a 4 because of the 4 right here. Now, to get 24, what values do we need in these 4 cells? We got the 8. If you went to the maximum and put a 7 right here, that'd be 15. You put the maximum right here, that's a 5. That would be 20. And you put the maximum right here, that's a 4. You get 24. That's the only way to get 24 is to max out all 4 of those cells because of the restrictions of the killer cages. This is beautiful. And hopefully you found this to get past this part of the puzzle. So you can solve these 4 cells for the 8, 7, 5, and 4. They have to be that. And now you can see how much further you can get along in this puzzle. Because of the 4 and 5, this has got to be a 3 now. So this is a 3 and 1, 4. And that's going to make up 9. And then this is a 2. And this is going to make up 9 as well. All right? And so what you have remaining in this block, you got 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6 right here. Can't be there, so that's got to be a 3 or a 4. And then 2, you got the 3 right here. And what you might notice is you got the 4 right there. You can remove that 4. And what you'll see in looking in this is that you can't have the 3 in this block, right? So now this has to be your 4, and you can get rid of 3 and the 4 right there. So where does that put the 3 in column 9? It's got to be right here. So you have a 2 and a 3, and it's 5, and that's got to be your 6, which will make this a 5 and add up to 13. And this adds up to 11. Nice, beautiful. And now with this 6 and 8, you can get this for a 7. With that 6 and the 7, that's an 8, and that's going to be your 6. Great. And now with this 6, that's a 7, that's a 6. Okay, you know, get to my favorite part of solving, where you can just remove some of these marks. This is a 3, and this is a powerful 3, because what it does is restricts this thermometer, right? This can be no higher than a 2, and that can be no higher than a 1. You got to find that. And then what else does that do for us? These two cells can be a 4 or a 6. So I got the 4 right here. So that's a 4 or 6. And as you get further along in the puzzle, it's going to be more like regular Sudoku solving. And that's good for us, right? Because this 3 now allows you to do 3 here and the 5 right there. Okay, you got this 1. You got a pointing pair of 1s down here in block 7. You go along with that 1. You can mark that for a 1. We need a 5 and a 9. You got a 5 right here. So here's your 5 and here's your 9. All right, these 5s and this 5, you can solve this cell for a 5 now. And with these two 5s and these two 5s, you can solve this cell for a 5. And you see how we're just kind of moving along and getting more solved cells here. These two cells has got to be a 2 or a 7. You got the 7 right there. So there's a 7 and there's your 2. Awesome. And then we can move along here, and what do you need? Looks like a 4, 6, or an 8. Well, with these two 6s, this has to be your 6, and that's going to be a nice 4, 8. Okay, what else can we do? Well, with this 4 and this 3, this has to be a 2, restricting this now to a 1. So you got a 2 there, a 1 there, 2 there, and a 1 there. So you find and unravel these restrictions, and you immediately get some solves. It's nice. And so you need a 6 and 7, these two cells. Well, the 6 is right here. So there's your 7, there's your 6, and there's going to be your 7. Nice. And then what you might see is you got a 3, 9 here and a 3, 9 there. So it actually restricts the 3 and the 9 to these two cells. A little hidden pair action. And with this 1, that's the only place to put a 1 in block 5. And the only place to put a 2 is going to be right there. And so you can now solve this cell because it's a full house for an 8. And then you have a 1, 2 right here. We got the 1 there. So there's 2 and there's your 1. Displacing that Snyder 1, you can solve this cell now for a 1. Awesome. All right. Let's continue on with our solves. Right up here, you need a 3 or an 8. But can we do better than that? I feel like we can't. Right here, you need, looks like a 4, 6, and a 9. Yeah, we can do better than that. How about we look right here? You got the 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, you need a 2 and a 7. There we go. There's 2, and there's going to be your 7. Awesome. And then right here, you're getting a 3, 6, and a 7. You got the 7 right here, 6 and 7 right here. Neat naked triple trick. Here's your 3. Only place 7 goes is right there, and that's got to be your 6. Now with these two 6s, that's got to be a 6. And you'll look up here with this 3. You got an 8 and a 3 right there. Nice. Now you can disambiguate that 9, 3 hidden pair. That was so helpful to us. And then with this 9, only place to put a 9 and block 2 is right there. That's got to be your 4. And then this is going to be an 8. You can disambiguate that 9, 8 we put near the beginning of the puzzle. And then you got a 9 right here. This is going to be your 4. And you got an 8 here, and our last digit is a 4. Now apply the 5 tips you just learned to this next puzzle. Thank you so much for watching.